Hello, this is Robbie Mitchell from Head in the Cloud Development, here to give you a quick walkthrough of how to create and test a RESTlet in NetSuite. This video is being recorded in July 2021 on NetSuite version 2021.1. So here's what we're going to cover in this video. I'm going to show you how to write the actual code to create a RESTlet that has get, post, put, and delete methods. We'll be doing this using our TypeScript uploading system, which provides API IntelliSense as you type. I'm going to show you how to set up an OAuth 2.0 connection to access your RESTlet, and we'll walk through testing the 4 entry points of the RESTlet using Postman. So what do you need to get started? First, you should have the administrator role in NetSuite. Second, I'm assuming you're already able to upload SuiteScripts to NetSuite. If you're not familiar with this process yet, check out some of my other videos where I walk through the setup on both Windows and Mac platforms in WebStorm and VS Code. That being said, you'll obviously need to have either WebStorm or VS Code installed on your computer. And finally, you'll need the Postman app. You can get it for free from postman.com if you don't have it yet. So let's get to it. I'm going to open the project folder in WebStorm. And this is our starting point. If you've downloaded the project files from a link on the video, then when you first open the folder, the first thing you will need to do is run npm install. So I'll click here to do that now. So first I'll quickly show you what my project files look like, though again, how to set all this up is covered in my other videos, so please watch them if you're not familiar with this. Here's my .hitc upload file. Here's my gulp file, my package.json file, and my tsconfig.json file. And of course here I have my ssv2 folder, which will contain all my TypeScript files. This file is the demo RESTlet script in its absolute simplest form. As you can see, we have the required script type and API version tags here at the top. And we're going to start with the getEntryPoint function. We'll make it do something more interesting in a minute, but for now we'll just have it logging something and returning a success string. So let's upload this to NetSuite and test it. To do that, first I need to set up an upload token. So on my login, I already have the HITC Uploader role. To create a token, I go to Setup, Users and Roles, Access Tokens, New. Application name is HITC Uploader, user is me, role is HITC Uploader, and I'm on my laptop today. I'm going to plug these into my token file here. And now I'll press my build and upload command shortcut on my keyboard to upload the file. So now it's uploaded, I'll go create a script record for it. I'll go ahead and deploy it. Keep the log level on debug. Now in order to access this RESTlet from outside NetSuite, we need to set up an integration record as well. Do that from Setup, Integration, Manage Integrations, New. I'm going to call mine Robbie Test Integration July 2021. I'm going to uncheck the TBA authorization flow, because we don't need that. And I'm going to check the box for RESTlets under Scope. We do need that. And for the redirect URI, I'm going to use our own Head in the Cloud website, and you can use it as well. You'll see where this comes up later. And with that, I'll click Save. Now these credentials only show up once, so make sure to note them if you're going to navigate away from the page. So next we'll get Postman ready for the next step. But let's talk about it first. This authorization code grant process has several steps. It'll help if you bring up the page in NetSuite help that covers it, as you may need to copy and paste a few things. Let's do that now. To find it, type in Authorization Code Grant, and then go to the OAuth 2.0 Authorization Code Grant flow page. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the steps, and then we'll go through them in detail. So first, we have to get an authorization code from our authenticated NetSuite session. Second, we use that authorization code to get a refresh token through Postman. Third, we use that refresh token to get our access code. And finally, once we have that, we can use it to test our RESTlet. So before we get our authorization code, we need to get Postman ready, because the code is only good for about a minute once you get it. So we need to be ready, otherwise if we take too long, then it'll expire by the time we actually try to use it, and we'll get a not very helpful error message. So to get ready, let's set up this post request in Postman. To see the URL, click on step 2 here in help. And this is what we need to set up. So I'm going to bring up Postman, and I've set up a shell for this that I'll show you here. So as you can see, I've taken this URL and plugged it in here as a post, and I've replaced the account ID tag with my NetSuite account ID. We need to use the first 3 parameters listed here. The code is what we're going to get from step 1, so leave that blank. The redirect URI is exactly what we plugged in on the integration record. The grant type is authorization code. For the authorization of this request, it needs to be basic, and it needs to use the credentials from the integration record. So I'll copy and paste those in now. Okay, now we're ready, so now let's go back and do step 1. I'm going to go back in the help to step 1. Now this one will take a second to set up. Again, we'll start by copying and pasting the URL. I'm just going to start pasting it into a new tab here. And let's get our account ID first. So it says the first parameter is response type and the value is code. Next we need our redirect URI, and this has to be encoded, which basically means you replace the colon with a %3a and the slashes with a %2f. So it should look like this. Next we need the scope, which is going to be RESTlets for us. Next we need the state, which is just a unique string, and you can actually use the one they give you in the example here. Here it is. And finally we need the client ID, again from the integration. Okay, now I recommend copying and pasting this into your notes in case you need to do it again here. But I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and when I do, it should authorize me for our integration to call RESTlets. I'm going to click allow, and when you do, you land on the redirect URI and you get this code in the URL. This is the important bit. So let's take this and quickly plug it into this field in Postman and send that. Great, this is what we wanted. So now step 3 is to send another post to the same URL with the same authorization, but now in the body we need to put in the refresh token we get from step 1. So I'm going to do a save as, call it step 3, and now I'm going to copy this refresh token, and in the body we're going to swap out the code parameter for refresh token. Plug that in there. We also need to change the grant type now to refresh token, and then click send. Great, now we have our access token. This is what we'll actually use for our RESTlet. Now I'm going to create a new request, and I'm going to plug in the URL for my RESTlet deployment. The authorization now is a bearer token with the access token that we just got from this request. And when I click send, I get a success. And if I look at the execution logs on my RESTlet, the input that I passed in was empty. That is perfect. Okay, that's the hardest part of all this. Hopefully it wasn't too painful for you. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's make this do something a bit more interesting. Let's set our get function up to take an email address parameter and return the internal ID of a customer matching that email. So to do this, we'll need the search module. Now we'll do a search to find the customer ID. We return false because we're only expecting one match and we only want to consider the first match. Now let's log what we find here. And now our return type always needs to be a string. So let's return a JSON string here. Now let's upload and test this. So to pass in an email, on a GET request, normally we would do it with a URL parameter, but we can try it this way as well. Well, that didn't work. And actually, I'll explain why. I remember now NetSuite doesn't support currently sending in body data in a GET request. So I'm going to change the body to none, and I'm going to do it just in the URL. So I'm going to plug in the email here as a URL parameter. And click send, and that gets me my customer ID. And the executions log that it read the email properly and found the matching customer. Now let's set up a post function to create a new customer. First we'll log what input we receive. Now we'll need the record module to create the customer. I'll initialize it here. Now let's think about what data we need as a minimum to create a customer. The first things that come to my mind are the company name and an email address. So that means we'll need to post a company name and an email address to our RESTlet here. And we'll do that using JSON. To support that data format, let's make an interface here in the script. I'm going to call it iCustomer, meaning it's the data that will be sent representing a customer. We're just going to have the two things, company name and an email, which are both strings. Now that means that we can assign that to the data in, since that's what we'll be expecting to receive. And now I know in my account I need to set the subsidiary first. Then I can set the company name and email. And now with my interface, the IDE knows that I'm either going to have a company name or an email from my data in. Now let's save the customer. Now we'll log the customer creation, and since we created a new record, we'll do it as an audit log. And then we'll return our customer ID. And in a post, we no longer have to return a string. We can return the data directly here. So let's upload this and try it out. So back in Postman, I'm going to remove this email address and I'm going to do a save as. To make my post request. So now I do need a body, and we'll make it raw. We'll switch it to JSON, and here we'll say company name email and then we'll send it. Okay, so this is the response we get back for a newly created customer. And let's check our logs to confirm. Yep, so here's the data we received, and we created this customer. Now let's set up a put function to update an existing customer. Now I'll show you another way we can specify the input data format. We can do it here inline if it's going to be pretty simple. So for what we're going to be updating, we're only going to allow someone to update the comment on a customer. You might want to do this input as an interface as well if you're going to allow much more here. So again, first we'll log what the input is. And now again we'll use the record module to update the customer with the updated comment. And then we'll return success. So we'll upload this, and we'll switch to Postman and give it a try. Again, I'm going to do a save as to make a put. And again, the format, I'm going to use the customer ID that we just created. Plug that in here, and then the comment is hello. Okay, it says it worked. Let's go find out. Let's look at this customer in NetSuite. Obviously, if there was any problem, we would see an error log here, so we can assume that it worked. Here's our customer. And our comment says hello. Great. And finally, let's set up our delete function to delete a customer. Now this one we have to do a little bit differently, because the entry point function name for this in NetSuite is delete, but the word delete is a reserved word in JavaScript and TypeScript. So to get around this, we have to name our function something else, and then include a special line of code that will say to export it as a delete function. Let me show you. So I'm going to declare a function, delete func. data in, and here all we're going to take in is a customer ID. And now to make this work as a delete entry point, we need to say export delete func as delete. And we'll get a warning about this from WebStorm, but it's fine to ignore. So first let's log what we're going to delete. And then let's do the delete using the record module. And then we'll return success. So let's upload this, switch to Postman. I'll do a save as to do a delete. Switch the method here. And the body, again, is just the customer ID, so I'll delete the comment and send it. So it didn't like my data input, so I wonder if delete is similar to get, where you have to pass it in via the URL. So let's try that. Get the customer ID again. So another way we can do URL parameters is to use the params tab here. So here I'll say customer ID, then I'll paste in our customer ID and send it. Okay, I've got to show you something interesting. When I click send on my delete, I was getting this unexpected error. Now I found this article in Sweet Answers that says it's something to do with the content type in Postman. So if you get this, and to be honest, I haven't seen this before, so I'm not sure if it's common or not, but anyway, if you do get it, the fix is simple. Just add on a header for content type of text/plain. Now when you try it, it works fine. And let's check my execution logs to confirm. Yep, here's my delete for this customer. And if I try to refresh my page, I see that I did just delete this customer. And this concludes our intro to RESTlets. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions or feedback. Otherwise, we'll see you at SuiteWorld. Bye for now.